Why do you hate Andrew Tate?
The slapping.
Slap, slap.
Like, sit down.
Grab, choke, shut up.
How he only wants young girls because they haven't had as much.
Yeah.
The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less.
A sexist, misogynistic guy. He has a platform that feeds off of hate, influencing so many young men.
A bloke that thinks they can own women and think it's okay to assault women. Andrew Tate represents an image of masculinity that's actually discredited in this world.
We're in a world that's largely without strong, resilient men. And women, I'm seeing them, man, they're way less happy.
He really pushes for motivation, man. He gets young kids to go and do something and follow their dreams and become the best version of themselves.
Who do young lads look to as a strong masculine role model?
Well, I think if Andrew Tate disappeared, I think they're going to be okay.
I need you to answer my question.
What's your stance on it?
I think there's good and bad. I think there's good and bad.
Good and bad to Andrew Tate.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Common Ground Conversations, where we ask the important but controversial questions and then try to find common ground. In today's episode, I'm here with my Cuban in hand. We are going to be asking people the question what they think about the one and only Andrew Tate. Love or hate? Let's go. Andrew Tate, aka the top G, currently the most Googled man on the planet. He's certainly in the collective consciousness right now and one of the most polarizing figures for good reason. Following his recent ban from both Facebook and Instagram, we thought it timely to see what people thought of the man. Love him or hate him? For our Insta followers, it was a near 50-50 split. Here are some of the reasons that people gave. Hate. He's abusive. He's a sex trafficker. He's a sexist and misogynist. He's a bad influence on young, impressionable lads who might not have a father figure and instead follow Tate blindly. Meanwhile, love. He says it how it is. He speaks the uncomfortable truths. He's the spearhead standing up to big tech censorship and cancel culture. He teaches young lads how to become high-value men. And one of my favorites, his unmatched perspicacity coupled with his sheer indefatigability combined to make him a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. For me personally, Tate is a mixed bag. He's undoubtedly been an inspiration with regard to making money.
I had mixed reviews on the color. Some people said they like it, some people said they don't like it, and I said, well, what color's your brigade?
Striving to become a strong alpha male, learning how to fight, and developing an iron mindset. He's also helped me realize and confront some of the rather uncomfortable truths, the red pills, so to speak, that neither my parents nor the education system explicitly taught me. In particular, developing an acute awareness of what females in general respect and are attracted to. Money, status, and mental, emotional, and physical strength, to name just a few. And the harsh truth is, if you don't develop these as a lad, you are fucked in the sexual marketplace. Your mum might love you, but women seeking a long-term partner will not. And Tate does not beat around the bush here. He just gives it to you straight, and that is incredibly refreshing in a world where we seem to be bending over backwards to coddle and cater for everyone's feelings. He, in a way, is an embodiment of the tough love that I and many other lads have craved from a strong father figure. In this respect, I think he's a force for good, encouraging and bringing out the masculine potential in a generation of over-feminized boys. But his views on women are certainly questionable, as are his business morals. This is where I find a lot of common ground with his haters. Is he a sex trafficker? Is he physically abusive? Is he a sexist or misogynist? I encourage you to do your own research and seek out context for whatever clips and snippets you might have seen on social media, but I will briefly roll off a couple of points. 1, he hasn't been convicted of any sex trafficking. He does run a webcam business and he's openly spoken of using very manipulative tactics to get women working for him. But for what it's worth, that is different to being a convicted sex trafficker. Does that mean that running a webcam business or being manipulative is the moral thing to do? No, of course not. But like I said, it is different, and I don't think we should willy-nilly throw around claims of sex trafficking that have not yet been substantiated. If and when he were to be convicted, then I think it's completely appropriate. Until then, not so. 2, with regard to sexual abuse, there is a notorious video that has circulated of him being physically aggressive with a woman in the bedroom. Many have understandably been quick to label it domestic violence or abuse, but I do think this is a mislabeling based on the information we have. Here is why. Different people have different sexual kinks, including roleplay and the incorporation of some physical aggression in the bedroom. And just because you might find something rather demeaning and disrespectful does not mean that someone else should too. The girl in this particular video published a video response where she clarifies what was going on in the original video. It was consensual and that was simply their thing in the bedroom. So if you still take issue with Tate's actions after this, assuming she's telling the truth, then you're not standing up for women's rights, you're actually just kink shaming. If anything, you're standing against a woman's right to explore and engage in her sexual kinks, whatever they may be. 3. With regard to claims of sexism and misogyny, this is where I tend to find some common ground with Tate's haters. I'm not convinced that Tate is a misogynist.
I love women. I have nothing against women at all.
Perhaps a sexist.
I sat there and I thought, how are women allowed to drive?
But I do believe that he holds a lot of double standards with regard to acceptable male and female behavior, and I don't agree with all of them. The thing is, he often has some kind of reasoning as to why he holds these double standards, and the question then becomes, is his reasoning reasonable? I'll leave that for you to decide. 4. Another concern I share with a lot of Tate's haters is the way he gets his message across. Yes, he's done an amazing job of spreading across social media like wildfire, but his message can oftentimes be abrasive and lacking nuance, which when you're leading a large group of young, impressionable lads can be problematic. I think some of the things he says about women lacking proper context and nuance can encourage antisocial narcissism in young lads, and that can lead to stereotypical fuckboy behavior, which in turn can leave a trail of young, emotionally scarred girls feeling betrayed and taken advantage of, and I am not for that. With all that said, I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you love or hate Tate, and why? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading all of your responses. And if you want to be a part of the polls that we run on Insta before we record these videos, jump on over there now and follow us. A big thank you to everyone who shared their Tate on Andrew over the past week in our DMs and via our stories. Also, we go on a couple of tangents here and there throughout the episode with regard to things like masculinity, femininity, censorship, hate speech, and when that happens, I'll pop some timestamps on the screen so you can skip ahead if you'd like. Now for the first convo of the day, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy. Andrew Tate, love or hate?
Hate.
Okay,
Because I can't say I love him.
one word.
Hate.
Hate.
Hate. Hate.
So interesting, okay. So,
Two one-sided demographic.
tell me why, an open question for all of you, feel free to defer to Alex if you so please, but why do you hate Andrew Tate?
Well, I've never met him, so I can't say I hate him as a person. But I don't like what he preaches, most of it. But it's hard to
What
come
is
up
it
with.
that you don't like in particular, if we were to be specific?
Women are property.
Yeah,
and I
women
think
are
even
property.
some of the good things, he just doesn't go about. I don't think he goes about things in a very good way. I think he's quite aggressive, and he doesn't really hear out other sides of like the story.
And even,
like
like-
I'm saying hate, but I'm happy to hear someone who thinks love. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. But I feel like hate, if you're like you're actually wrong, he's just gonna scream at you. Like I don't think he's
Yeah.
willing to learn and learn other people's thoughts on what he's
Yeah.
saying.
And even like spreading that kind of message to especially like some of our younger brothers are like, oh, Andrew
Yeah.
Tate. It's like,
especially because they're so young that if you hear him say women are property, we're a bit older, we can kind of unpack that, get where he's coming from. If you're 12 and you're hearing women are property, you're not going to think, oh, but he might be being protective. You're going to think, okay, that means I own them. Like younger kids who are on these social media platforms can't, like, yeah, they're impressionable and they can't think into things as deep as we can and understand them for like the two sides of the story like older kids can.
And I think, just to be fair to Andrew, I don't think he's ever actually said women are men's property. What he has said is that if he was in a relationship with a woman and she had an OnlyFans, he would view part of her income as belonging to him.
If a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So she wants to do OnlyFans. She owes him some money because she's his.
That is you saying that women are your property.
It's not about being property. It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her body belong to him because they're in a relationship. And if she wants to sell those, he has a stake in those intimate parts of her body.
So it's reverse. Male porn star owes the woman.
I don't know, because I think the women belong to the man. I think the woman's given over
that's
to the man.
inherently where you get called sexist.
Yeah.
Right, so, which is, you know, I'm not saying that that's all that much better, but it is different.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is obviously, as I said, we don't know him, and we also haven't, like, we don't watch all of his videos, we don't follow his content. So what we see is whatever gets reposted to us, and as being women, we follow mainly women, and
It's always
most
the
people
negatives.
show the negatives.
Yeah.
So like when I had a
I
conversation
love that you're aware of that.
to one of my guy friends, he was like, I love his money and his business side. I'm like, well, I haven't heard that because I've only heard the things he said about women, which don't personally sit right with me. But that doesn't mean he's said things that we can't say we don't agree with everything we said because we haven't heard everything he said.
Yeah. And I think where all of us can find, like, I don't think any of us would say women are men's property. Right? I feel like that's quite an archaic.
Good to hear.
It's a good starting point. Hey, we'd have some trouble if that wasn't the case. And I also share the concern around impressionable young lads. We met some today who I was like, okay, if you like Andrew, is there anything that he said that you don't agree with? And they were like, no.
Yeah.
So I share your concern around impressionable young lads getting snippets that are out of context and then swallowing them wholesale because they might admire his kind of masculine alpha top G persona.
And like the ones that go viral, if he's like, oh, invest in like crypto, you'll make money. That's not going viral. What's going viral is him saying, if I had a woman, she's not going out with me, giving her permission. Like, the things that are going viral and millions of people are saying are the really controversial, what I would characterize as wrong things.
Is there anything else that he said that any of you would take issue with or say, I definitely don't agree with
Not
that?
that I could directly
Or like the slapping.
Slap.
Like, you know, bitch, sit down, slap.
Grab, choke, shut up.
Or
her out.
like saying,
I just don't think
like
that's...
a woman can't go out, but like if he cheated and he still like loves the girl that he's with, it's not considered cheating.
A man can only cheat if he loves someone else. If I have a woman who I truly love, and I go out and fuck, and I come back to her, and I don't care about her, and I only love my girl, that's not cheating. That's exercise. If she even talks to a dude, it's cheating. Because females are emotionally invested. I think if a man is not sexually exclusive, it's not the same as if a woman is. Because with a woman, you have the paternity issue. With a man, you don't have a paternity issue. If I have 3 girlfriends and they all get pregnant, we know who the mother and who the father is. If you have 1 woman and 3 men, you don't know who even the parents are if she got pregnant.
Also, how
I'm with you on that.
how he only wants young girls because they haven't had as much.
The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less.
Okay, so I want to touch on both of them. So one, sorry, what was the point that you made?
Like if he cheats on like.
Oh yes, yeah. So the idea that if we were in a relationship and I sleep with other women, that's fine, but you can't. I'm. If my sister were to bring him home for dinner, and he said that, I'd be like, get the out of my house. Right, so I don't. Now, I want to be fair to Tate. He did say that the reason why he thought that was because men and women show loyalty in different ways.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see his point there in the sense that if in a relationship where there are asymmetric roles or obligations or responsibilities or whatnot, maybe you could make a case for it, but still don't agree with it. With regard to what you said, now this is, I think, an uncomfortable truth, but it's unattractive for a girl to be promiscuous, and I think it's more unattractive to a male than it is vice versa. Alright, a brief interruption here to give some context to that claim. Promiscuity is a turn-off for either sex, but it is likely a turn-off for different reasons and to different degrees. With regard to those different reasons, as Tate has already mentioned in one of the previous clips, female promiscuity represents parental uncertainty for males. Meanwhile, male promiscuity represents the potential splitting of a male's finite resources between multiple female mates and their offspring. With regard to the degree to which such promiscuity can be a turn-off, males tend to have a stronger jealousy instinct in response to physical infidelity. Meanwhile, females tend to have a stronger jealousy instinct in response to emotional infidelity. The point being here that even though promiscuity is a turn-off for both sexes, the degree to which that is true for males and females respectively is likely to differ, and it's likely, at least in part, rooted in our sex-based biological differences. Onwards with the show. What I can say is that a large majority of males find it unattractive to be intimate with a woman who has multiple sexual partners. And part of the reason why that is, it's hardwired into us, is because of parental uncertainty. So if I'm having sex with a woman on a regular basis, and then she falls pregnant, but she's also had multiple sexual partners, I don't know whether it's mine. And so I've developed this instinct to be slightly unattracted to women who are more promiscuous compared to ones who are not. While we're on this point, it's also worth briefly noting that only a high-value male, sexually speaking, as compared to a low-value male, can sleep with multiple women, whereas the same does not apply for females. That is to say, a low-value woman can still sleep with multiple men in spite of being a low-value woman. And this is because males are far less selective with their mates compared to females. And again, this isn't just a social construct. We can tie this back to biological reasons, namely the asymmetrical parental investment in being pregnant and giving birth. The reason why this is all relevant is it can be a social signal of high value when a man has multiple women who'd like to sleep with him, whereas this is not as much the case for females. Onwards with the show.
But I don't understand why we have to be, if we're young, we're automatically assuming that we haven't been as touched, you could say. Like, he's like, I want to be with younger people because I'm
right. And I wonder whether there's more nuance. Something that I know he's aware of is he needs to be more nuanced with exactly what he's saying, so it doesn't get taken out of context.
The way he's wording things, definitely. Because to me, saying, I want to sleep with younger girls because they've had less dick, that comes across very more focused on the younger girls than it does on how many people they've slept with.
Yeah.
Whereas if, I feel like it would be just be wording himself, especially because he does have that audience, and people are going to hear young and girls are the two main words I hear in that sentence.
Yeah.
That it's very coming off that he wants to sleep with younger girls, not necessarily why.
Yeah, and also that it can be, what he's saying can be taken out of context and then it can mislead young lads, right?
Yeah.
So one other thing that I want to point out is that men, have you ever looked at a graph of when women are at their most attractive and when men are at their most attractive?
Is it when they're viewed as the most attractive, or
By the opposite sex.
Yeah, and it was like women at like 23, or wasn't it? Or 21?
Yeah, it's somewhere around that range. Whereas for men, for men, it's much older. Women tend to find slightly older men more attractive. And so I guess what I'm trying to do is take what he said and ask myself, is there a kernel of truth in that could be better articulated? I think one thing that he perhaps is trying to put his finger on, perhaps not so precisely, is it is true that men tend to be attracted to women from a younger demographic, like around that 23-ish age is when they're most attractive, but then women tend to be attracted to slightly older men. And you can ask, why is that? It might be because of what we seek out in the opposite sex.
And it's like a biological thing, obviously, but I think what we should be working out, like that's like been going on for 60,000 years. I think now we're at 60,000 years later, we should be like starting to unpack that, starting to like working on seeing each other not as purely, like I know it's embedded in us to see each other as sexual partners. Obviously you want young women because we're more fertile, like biologically, but I think we've advanced so much in our like minds that we should be focusing more on each other's minds and reproducing, essentially.
And also saying maybe, like generally men are attracted to younger women, not young bitches, okay, more,
Yeah, and that's a recurring theme is that people who take issue with what he said, it's not always just what he said, it's more so how he said it. But I think also, in terms of a marketing strategy, he's done quite well for himself to get into the collective consciousness. But I think now, again, he's also realizing he has a lot of responsibility now that he's in the collective consciousness to be more precise with what he's saying. What is like the positive side of Andrew Tate? Whether you've seen it in your brothers or whether you've seen particular clips, or like what do you like about Andrew Tate? Is there anything you're attracted to in Andrew Tate?
What I like about Andrew Tate?
Yeah, what do you like about him, or what are the good things you can see in him? Or also, what do you like? Are any of you somewhat attracted to Andrew Tate?
No, I'm attracted to like completely opposite. No, I like that he did donate to domestic violence and men's mental health. I liked how he does look for equality in that sense, that there obviously are issues with violence against women. There's also issues with men's mental health. I like how he's giving both of them attention, and I think that was good in the end, except that it took everything for him to get banned on everything for him to do that. But I do like that he did do that.
How about you guys?
I'm the same. I think it shouldn't have taken so long, because I feel like after all his social media, his business got shut down. That's when I think there was like an hour-long video or something, and then he made all these donations. I kind of think it's like you could have been doing that from the start.
I think the one video I've seen, and please don't quote me because I don't know what's going on. Yeah, all I remember saying was he said he has an issue with if his ex or a woman he knows gets with one of his friends, it's the friend's fault, not just the woman's fault. He said something along the lines of that, and the only thing I like is because I think there's a lot of blame on women being passed around through friends when it's like the friend needs to take some of the blame. If they're getting with someone you were involved with, if they're a good friend, they wouldn't do that. And that's the one clip I've ever seen, and as I said, I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but that's the one thing that came up on my social media where when there's actually truth behind that, and I like the fact that it's not only getting blamed on the women.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, one last thing before I let you all go. There was a video circulating of him being physically aggressive with a woman in the bedroom. Did you guys? So, and then she's recorded a response video saying, hey, that was just kind of our thing in the bedroom.
There's a video from 10 years ago that showed me in a sexual act with one of my ex-girlfriends.
And I'm pretty sure not so many of you have seen the same woman coming forward with a statement saying it was nothing but a sex play. So here I am again for the second time. It was nothing but a sex play. It was consensual foreplay that we liked doing, that I was into, that I wanted. It was not abuse. There was no physical domestic violence happening. And I don't like seeing injustice of him being called woman beater for the same video that I've already once clarified. It was nothing but a sex play.
Do you still think that his actions were inappropriate, or do you think that if girls like a little bit of rough...
I don't think it should be recorded. I think
there's consent involved. It's like, I mean, you weren't there, so like you don't really know, but like if there's consent involved and like that's what you like, I guess, like
to their own.
Yeah, it's kind of like I can't like I can think it's like a bit odd, but like I can't really have like that much of an issue with it if it's like consented and like she's come out and said it was fine.
Yeah.
I just think like what goes on in people's private life, do what you need to do. I don't care. As long as it's consensual, it's between adults, you can do whatever and it doesn't hurt anyone. But recording it and it getting leaked without any context, it obviously looks so bad. People will see it, they see this guy that they idolize hitting a woman, they're not going to see it as bad, you know? So do what you want to do, but just don't record it and then publish it without having any context around it.
I think it did get leaked.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware. Well, hey, thank you for taking the time to unpack it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Have a lovely evening. Take care. See you. Andrew Tate, love or hate? I want to start one word first. Just one worded answer, and then let's unpack it in more detail.
Like. Yeah, can I say like?
Yeah, we can go like.
Yeah, I'd say like. Yeah.
No comment at this point in time.
Okay, all right. So, run me through what you like about Andrew Tate.
I like the inspirational aspects for young men.
And what are those inspirational aspects in particular?
He really pushes for motivation, man. He gets like young kids to go and do something and follow their dreams and become the best version of themselves. I think that aspect of him is really cool, and that's what pushes me towards like, for sure. But other aspects.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back to the flip side of it. What do you like about?
Okay, actually, wait. I'm going to bust through the format for a second and just like generate a nice clip that'll be nice to clip.
Go.
I think the greatest problem that we're seeing with the whole Tate situation is an algorithmic problem. What I'm noticing is that men and women are literally seeing different Tates because of what the algorithm is pushing to them. Like, for example, when I see Andrew Tate, like I see stuff about like, you know, the importance of being a strong man so that you can protect others and uphold others around you. I see stuff like, you know, the importance of having your finances in check, taking care of women, doing stuff like that. And, you know, the importance of finances and building a good life. Because that's the stuff I'm saving. That's the stuff I'm engaging with. I literally, when I first saw him, I would just see stupid shit, be like, who the f*** is this guy? Until like I, you know,
until
just
the algorithm learned
what I liked about him and then fed that to me. So I see a different Tate. I see the good part of Tate there. But what I'm noticing with women, like I can see how very easily they could hate Tate because what the algorithm is doing is it's noticing. They'll watch a video of Andrew Tate saying something stupid and it'll make people mad. Sometimes you watch it just because it makes you mad. And then
you interact with it.
You interact
it knows
with it.
that you engage.
It knows you engage with it. So I'm seeing girls are seeing a completely different Tate than I am. So that's really creating a huge rift in between people's opinion on this one person who's a multifaceted individual, but each side is only being fed one side of the pie because that's what the algorithm is designed to do. It's designed to divide us.
Okay, that's really good context for this because we, in this episode, hopefully the outcome of it is going to be people who watch the full episode will understand why people love him, but also understand why some people hate him. And hopefully that paints a fuller picture of the complete Andrew Tate, so to speak. So the love side, I 100% find common ground with you on. I think it's really important for young lads to be encouraged in their ambition. I also think something that he's done for me personally is highlight some uncomfortable truths in the sexual marketplace.
Such as what?
For example, if you, what do women select for in a high value male, right? Things like status, money, physical strength, willingness to engage in combat when necessary, and all of these things, right? All of these things,
willingness.
Are young lads being told this by their mothers? Maybe some. It's definitely not something that I learned, right? My mum will love me no matter what I do in this world, right? But the type of love that or what a mature woman finds attractive in the opposite sex is different to what my mum loves about me, right? And so I think those uncomfortable truths, he's done very well on not beating around the bush and just going straight down the barrel and giving me those uncomfortable truths. And I think in certain instances where it does feel like a lot of people have to tiptoe around these types of topics, he's a unique individual in the sense of his, he does exactly,
and that's
literally
the right. You know, because a huge difference with Andrew Tate, why he penetrates is his tone. You know, he makes the whole thing fun and engaging. Jordan Peterson is a noble man that's right about a lot of stuff, but it just doesn't seem as convincing when he seems so depressed about it. You know. I think I really like too about what Andrew Tate has conveyed to me is the importance of emotional stability as a man. like, yeah, you can break down, you can be weak, you can like open up when you need to.
But you got to push, brother.
But you got to push, brother. And it's actually been really great because there's been many times where like I could, be talking to a girl or something, and I might be like, wait, skip that whole tangent. Never mind. Yeah,
no, because I want to, if you don't mind me taking the baton from there, because I think that in a generation of dudes who are being told you should be more vulnerable, it's a fine line between encouraging a healthy amount of vulnerability and encouraging weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think he's big on, like, he copped some flack for saying depression isn't real or something of the sort. And if you have more context around it, I get his message, right?
Yeah.
In the sense, you can have your life can be absolute shit.
Yeah.
And labeling it with a particular something, it's like, what's that going to do for you? And I think his message, I want to give him credit where credit's due.
Of course.
His message around, dude, if your life sucks, stay off the medication, pinpoint what aspects of your life are making you feel this way, and then use that negative emotion to do something about it.
Your emotions are an indication of like whether stuff is going wrong or right in your life. It's not correct to suppress the emotions because they're with drugs and medication.
Sometimes maybe it's necessary, but not all the time.
Because those emotions are the thing that's going to tell you, like, to go do the thing to make the change so that you can be happy. For example, vulnerability, it's important, it's a strength, but I really feel like we actively are in a society that's being encouraged towards weakness because weak, divided people will pay for the medication, will obey the system, and will, just generally follow the program. Yeah. Very simply, it's being very...
slip into the matrix.
Slip into the matrix.
Which is part of why he's a self-proclaimed Morpheus.
And and I think that's like... I think the whole reason Andrew Tate got canceled was because he's pointing out holes in the matrix, which is quite funny because he's not saying stuff that's like incredibly revolutionary. Like, there's
okay. Now
system.
I want to push that back on that a little bit. So I think that the main reason why, technically, the reason why he got taken off Facebook and Insta was violating the. They had a policy for dangerous. Organizations and individuals. Right. And I think that's... I'm not for censorship in that respect.
It makes sense from their point of view, from what they've seen and from what that post... Did you see that post from that guy, Matt?
No, tell me about it.
There was a post from a guy, Matt. It got like 1 million likes or something like that. It was like a slideshow. It was just like... there was a couple... It was like pictures of him and some words saying stuff that he's done and some videos, like 7-second video clip, just clips. He was saying stuff like, you just gotta like choke her and slap her and stuff like that.
Slap,
so it makes him look like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah.
They're taking like the tiniest bit of him and it's like the worst things that he said and then from there...
Lacking context.
And furthermore, that's what the algorithm's feeding to, most of the women that have come to hate him. And I can see if that's all they've seen, I'd hate him too. When I first saw him on my feed, I was like, who the f*** is this dickhead? And it was only when I engaged with the long form content that I was like, he's not perfect, but he's on to some things that are important.
Okay, and this is something that, I don't know, have you seen his most recent long form video? So I think he does a good job in that of demonstrating he's aware of the fact that some of what he is saying can be taken out of context, and then it can also be have a negative influence on young people. In particular, young lads.
I need to figure out a new way to form sentences.
Right, yeah. Well, so say for example that clip where he's saying slap, whatever, grab, choke. That out of context can be... I can see why some people would label that damaging. I would probably say unproductive or misleading or not a good role model for young lads. But it's like when you're the most Googled man on the earth, it is quite difficult to say things that you believe that might be controversial in such a way that they can't be clipped in a dangerous way.
You see a lot of artists, when they get interviewed, once they're big, someone like Kanye, they literally stop and think for a few seconds before they speak so that they don't get clipped. They have to think of delivering their message in a way where they can't just take a little chunk of it to make them look f***ed.
Yes, and I think it will be interesting to see what Tate does from here, to see whether he's able to tweak what he says in such a way that he can hold that engaging kind of tonality, whilst also ensuring that his stuff doesn't get taken out of context to promote a type of behavior that isn't productive. So I want to flip it. So what are some things that we can point to that Tate has either done or said that we can say we're not for this?
Yeah, I've spoken to women about it. A lot of women seem to see him as a sex trafficker because of those allegations. So they fully believe that he's in Romania to like get away from the system, to pay off the cops because he's got money and he can just do whatever he wants, sex traffic women, abuse women. That's the views that I've seen of a lot of women. They've seen his, there was a video.
What do you say to women who have those concerns, or to anyone who has those
I would
concerns?
say, like, of course it's impossible to know for certain either way, but my personal opinion would be I don't believe it, judged on what else he does and what else he's contributing to society. But of course you can't say either way.
I also do want to be fair to him. He hasn't been convicted of anything.
Yeah, of course.
He also has said, for example, in that long form video, he lives in Romania because he likes Romania. And that there are perhaps some tax benefits and whatnot. But I think claiming that he is sex trafficking without good evidence and without a conviction, I don't think that's a good, like, just because I say something about you doesn't mean that we believe it, right? It's like innocent until proven guilty, and I think we should be consistent with that.
We're in that type of world where it's guilty until proven innocent, depending on whether the system wants this person to go down or not. I'm going to return to a previous point where I think Andrew Tate's being cancelled because he, just by saying, hey man, let's be strong, look after ourselves, and then use that strength to protect others, you know, like, system doesn't want that messaging out there because then that creates independent people that can look after themselves and that don't have to suckle on the teat of big pharma to stay alive, you know? And the system doesn't want that. But what it's done is it's used, you know, no one wants misogynists around, no one wants sex traffickers around, but it's used those accusations as the lance with which to temporarily drop Andrew Tate. I don't think that's why he's being canceled, because there's incredible amounts of sexist behavior that goes on day in, day out, but they're not coming from a person that's also having a positive impact on male strength, which is essential for a complete society and actually for the protection and betterment of women. You know, we're in a world that's largely without strong, resilient men. And women, I'm saying it, man, they're way less happy than other times. You know, not that other times have been perfect, but this decrease in male strength, decrease in male independence, this encouragement of male weakness.
Strong men is good.
Yeah, like women are suffering in the absence of strong men. So the system, seeing a strong man imperfectly, and he can work on those things, he's going to work on them, seeing a strong man imperfectly create other strong men, the system doesn't want to see that.
Are there any specific things, other things that you want to put your finger on as like, this is something Tate has said that I'm not for?
Definitely. There's a video on the internet. So there's that one that he addressed where he was spanking that girl with the belt. Have you seen that? Yeah, there's that one that he addressed, and then that girl did come out and she said, yes, that was like a kink thing for us. But there was another video, a second video, where he's with a different girl, and he's like pointing out her bruises. He's like, yeah, I did that, I bruised you, yada, yada, yada. And then they're having a conversation. Tate's being a little bit aggressive, and then she locks herself in the bathroom. She locks herself in the bathroom, and then Tate's like, I'm gonna beat you, why are you doing that? Behave. And she's like, I am behaving. Why did she lock herself in the bathroom? Is my thoughts. That's something that's a bit like, what's going on here, brother?
He hasn't
spoken about that video.
I'm keen to hear about that one.
Because I was familiar with the first one, and I'm supportive of,
of course, me too.
If people have certain kinks in the bedroom, I guess each to their own. And I think obviously that video is very easily taken out of context and potentially mislabeled as domestic abuse or something of the sort. But that's assuming that there is consent.
The other one, you know, let's give it a fair shake, man. Like,
of course.
Let's find out.
We should let them both explain what happened for sure. But it does look a bit. I'm a bit skeptical about that one. But I think on the whole, overall, what he's doing for young men is beneficial for society.
Andrew Tate represents an image of masculinity that's actually discredited in this world.
If you were to describe that masculine presence,
a bloke that is violent, that is smarter, that thinks they can own women, and think it's okay.
Let's go one by one.
And think it's okay to assault women. And that women are more sexual beings. Yes, that women are profoundly sexual beings.
I want to make sure we go through each of those.
That are there for men to be used and abused. And I'm not saying most guys believe that. I think most guys don't want to be like that.
To be fair, I don't think Tate. Okay, I want to be fair to Tate. I don't think that the way that you've characterized him is necessarily what he believes.
What do you think he believes?
So, for example, you mentioned violence. I think that there is a time and place for violence. There is a time and place to be physically aggressive. Let's say, for example, you're engaging in some kind of combat. Let's say, for example, self-defense or protecting your woman from whatnot.
Protecting your woman. Your woman. Okay.
Well, is that a problem?
Well, you don't see what I just picked up? Your woman. Your woman implies ownership.
Well, okay, careful.
But that also implies ownership.
Well, okay, so let's
It does imply ownership.
Yeah, okay. I take your point.
My woman.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Maybe,
Madam.
but my woman. Yeah, but not so much. I think my woman is applying. There's a particular relationship.
It's me taking responsibility for the safety of the woman that I'm in a relationship with and our offspring. If I say my kids, it's not that I own my kids. If you would let me finish, I let you finish. I think it's important to draw the distinction between. It's not me saying this is my woman and she has to do everything that I do and I say. It's me saying I take responsibility for providing and protecting for this woman. Okay. So I don't think it's accurate to say that if I say my woman, I'm not saying that she's my property, right? There's an important distinction
I
there.
think it's
It might also be worth running the experiment in reverse. So when a woman says, my man, does that mean she thinks he is her property? I would say no. It's more so reflective of an exclusive relationship and the responsibilities that come with it.
very fine line, and I think things are changing. Hang on, I think things are actually
how would
changing.
You say it? How would you
I
say
don't
it
think a relationship, the male doesn't have to be the protector and only provider. The majority of relationships, men and women,
okay, you and I will find common ground.
Let's say if they're in a heterosexual relationship, they both provide. They both look after the kids. So this is old school saying the bloke's the provider and the protector, and the women are what? Like the nurturer. I mean, these things are being challenged.
Yes.
And it's a good thing because guys
when you will find common ground.
Yes, it's
there's
beautiful.
okay. So
and
I'm pro. Madam, I
problematic.
So
that's why
hold on.
he doesn't represent.
Hold on.
No, you're interviewing me. He doesn't represent.
Well, yeah, I'm the one with the
issues.
microphone. Thank you very much. So
I
I'm pro the gender liberation movement. Okay, this is where you and I can find common ground. If you're a woman, it doesn't mean that you have to be the caretaker. If I'm a man, it doesn't mean I have to be the provider protector. If you and I decide to engage in a relationship, we might decide, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. Screw the gender stereotypes. But it's also worth acknowledging, if we take all the males on this side, all the females on this side, and we say, what are you attracted to and what are you attracted to? Females rate as more important the ability to provide and protect. And males, let me finish, males rate more important a woman's ability to demonstrate the ability to nurture and caretake.
I think that's already been totally outdated with a lot of the research that's happening now. You need to actually have a good look at proper research.
I've had a good look at the research.
Yeah, and it's the majority of women know this is crap because the majority of women are workers, they provide, and they do all of that, you know. And the guys do a lot more. There's a change now happening too. And you know what?
I know.
And it's actually good because our big issue, I think the big issue we have is the violence that's happening in this world. And the majority of victims of male violence are actually men. That is a big issue.
Yeah.
The majority of victims in our society are men from male violence. And we want to change that.
How does this relate to Tate? But let's bring it back to Tate.
I think because it brings back this idea of an image of masculinity that's actually not a positive one. It's not constructive for men and it's not good for women.
Okay.
It actually shoehorns people into, I have to be like that to be a real man. There is no real man as such. We should all be able to be real human beings.
This is where we might disagree.
But that's okay. That's okay. Beings, you know, we shouldn't be shoehorned into. I gotta look like that. I gotta behave like that.
I agree.
It hasn't
Okay, this is where we find common ground.
And
Where we diverge is I do still think it's productive to tell young boys, if you want to become a strong, high-value man. Sorry, maybe I'll take strong out there. If you want to become a high-value man who is attractive to most women, you have to consider, what are most women attracted to?
What is if you're gay?
Status, money.
What is if you're a gay guy? A lot of guys are gay.
What point? How does that relate to my point?
But I'm saying, well, if you want to be attractive to women, what is if you're a boy who's maybe not attracted to women? What are you going to tell him?
Large majority of boys are heterosexual, and if you say, would you like to be attracted to the opposite sex?
But, okay,
so
sure.
The point hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Do I want to be
Madam,
as a young person?
Please let me finish. The point that I want to make here is that there is a positive masculinity that I think needs to be encouraged in young boys. I think it's good to encourage young boys to be ambitious, to be disciplined, to not just listen to their feelings, to not glorify vulnerability and weakness.
Can I just say, glorify, I mean, the problem is that most boys are not allowed to be sad. You've just reinforcing what a lot of men struggle with, that they're not allowed to show their feelings, or if they show feelings, because I fucking grow up in this world. I have brothers, I've got partners, I've got nephews, I've got nieces. I'm just saying, I know a lot of guys who struggle with this idea of being this typical
I know. Madam, let me clarify. So the key word...
They want to be hugged as much as women. And,
Madam, the key...
We have to feminize them.
But it's not about feminizing. No, it's not. Because then you...
Mate, do you want to come in? Let's...
I'm in my work here, so...
Are you able to take your...
I don't want like labels and stuff. I'm not going to interrupt.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's all good. Madam, I do, madam...
Thank you, that was lovely. I'm going to a conference now about
okay,
housing.
I appreciate your time. One last thing that I want to mention here is that I agree with you on the idea that men do need to feel like there are some appropriate instances where you need to be vulnerable, and that can be good. But the over-feminization of young boys, to follow their feelings, right, and to not...
It's so bizarre what you're saying. It's not. It's actually
I
not.
don't want boys...
Humans don't live...
Hold on. I don't
that.
want lads to end up having this idea of vulnerability be hold on, let me finish.
Because you've just put it in.
Be glorified.
Women follow their feelings. You know what this is? This is really typical. You're stereotyping men. You're stereotyping women. And you know what the problem is?
I just said that I'm pro-gender liberation. I don't think I did the best job explaining to this lady what I actually mean when I say I'm supportive of the gender liberation movement. So let me clarify here. I'm supportive of gender liberation insofar as these observations of male typical and female typical behavior and qualities are not necessarily prescriptions. If you're a feminine male or a masculine female, you do you. That doesn't, however, mean that men and women are completely the same. Masculine virtues should still be encouraged, or at least not actively discouraged in young lads, and the same goes for young women with regard to the feminine virtues. Onwards with the show.
No, but then you just contradict everything. I don't want boys who are following their feelings.
Masculine, feminine.
But a lot of these traits are actually socially constructed, and they're not innate biologically. And you know what?
Something I've been saying quite recently is it's not a prescription, it's an observation.
It's more real human beings. We actually be better for all of us. And like I said, the big issue is men killing men. That's the biggest issue. Male violence against other men is the highest level of violence, and we want to stop that. So any man who cares about that's what we want to change. We don't want men being killed by other men. We don't want anybody being killed.
Who do you think is pro that? I feel like everyone would agree with you on that.
Well, but why are we not changing it? Then we need to shift away from saying this masculinity.
But Andrew Tate is not the reason why men are killing other men, right?
I know that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Okay.
I agree.
Maybe let's finish on that note. I appreciate you taking the time.
I think that someone like Andrew Tate, he's come about, when you're put in a position where you're not allowed to talk about what you think, and you're not allowed to talk about what you feel or share an opinion because you think you're going to be shouted down or cancelled or fired. I mean, I just had to cover up the company I work for because I'm going to probably have a controversial opinion. That's going to give rise to more extreme opinions on either side. That's how Trump came about. People were terrified in America of voting for the Republicans. They didn't talk about who they were going to vote for. And at the polls, they thought Hillary was going to win in a landslide, and she was absolutely obliterated.
So just to make sure that I understand your position. It's almost it's good. It's like a reaction.
It's definitely a reaction to what's happening.
The stifling of free speech. Essentially.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And I think that's a good point that we haven't brought up today is when people feel like they have to self-censor, maybe they need or they look for someone who is beyond censorship, right? Tate is so wealthy and independent.
Joe Rogan.
Rogan's
Can't
another
cancel
good one,
him.
right?
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Can't cancel him. Cardi B is notorious for saying how she drugged and robbed people when she was a stripper.
You know, and she's basically a popular pop star that talks about sex and stuff all the time. Like,
and
tell me where's the double standard? You know,
Mm.
where's the double standard on that? I mean, that's a huge double standard, and I think Tate is. I mean, if you went by everything that he said literally, you'd be an asshole. But I think maybe if you're a little bit older and you use a little bit of discernment and you sort of maybe look at some of the things he says more in depth, he's not saying anything really any different to any other perhaps motivational dude or someone who talks about like Men's Health or Jocko Willink, any of these guys. They're all talking about personal accountability, about not complaining, not looking to the government for handouts when things aren't going well. You know, if you're upset about having a job that doesn't pay you enough, maybe you shouldn't have done the degree that you did. You know, it's like he's literally
Brutal
just
truths.
he's
Brutal
talking
truths.
to you with a sledgehammer in your face, and if you don't like it, if you're upset by that, then that says more about your decisions than what he's saying. Look, I would hate to be my nephew's age. You know, they're like teenagers, and growing up in a world where you're shamed for being a male, where people say, oh, you're a male, you're a rapist, or you're a white male and you have all this privilege. I mean, I think that's dangerous, and that sort of speech, you know, when you use that sort of language, that can actually be, they talk about toxic masculinity. They're really toxic traits to actually put on a young, impressionable mind.
What do you think is the outcome of young lads, let's say in particular young cis white males, being told you have all this male privilege? What's the negative outcome
Even
of that?
just the privilege, or even being told that there's something inherently wrong with you because of your biological sex. I mean, could you imagine what that would do to somebody's like frame of mind later on in life? I mean, that's going to come with its own consequences of things like shame, which men already have a huge amount of shame that we carry anyway. Guilt, lower self-esteem. You know, why do we want young boys to be growing into men with shame, guilt, and lower self-esteem? Don't we want them to be like contributors of society, and don't we want them to be confident in their abilities and confident in how they interact with people?
And this is one of the things that I've heard, you know, it's important for everyone, including the haters of Andrew Tate, to understand what young people who are following him look up to in him.
They're looking for something.
Because if we remove the symptoms, so to speak, if we remove Tate from Facebook, Insta, other platforms, whatnot,
it's not going to stop him.
And also to those young lads, who do they turn to next? It's not addressing the underlying problem, which may be a yearning for a strong alpha male role
a good
model.
father figure, an adult father. You know, like we're a generation of men more or less raised by women, aren't we? Probably a couple of generations. You know, like mum. As much as I love my mum, like mum, my mum couldn't do everything. You know, single mum. Dad worked all the time. She was absent. Like, there's got to be something that fills the void, and I think young guys will probably look to that these days as a way to, like, I don't know. I didn't learn. I'm 40 in 2 weeks. So I'm just learning how to be a man now. You know, so I can't even imagine what it's like for like young guys being confused and not knowing, perhaps not even having like a father or an uncle or older brothers who are role models, but then also having the only way to find that is online, whether it's right or wrong, you know, whether it's the exact right way to go about it. Like, if you're young and impressionable, I mean, I would think there's a lot of those young guys going, I don't feel like I'm a white, privileged, toxic guy. I feel like I'm a normal guy. Like, why am I being told all this stuff? And then someone comes along and says, well, you're not all of those things. Like, you're actually a lot more powerful than that. You can do anything that you put your mind to. You don't have to listen to stuff. This is just bullshit. Like, get tunnel vision, focus on your goals, don't worry about girls, focus on your career, make something of yourself. Like that lady before, she was saying, oh, you know, men don't need to do that. Like, women can be powerful and stuff these days. It's true, but I've never dated a woman who didn't like a man that worked or didn't have ambition. You know?
Facts.
Girls like guys that have ambition. Simple facts. Hypergamy, you know? I don't see any really wealthy women going and picking up like broke like dudes off the street. But there's plenty of rich dudes that date young women with no qualifications and no skills. So,
and that's what I mean around it's useful to observe the dating preferences of males and females. And as a young lad, I found that really important to know. What is it that females are attracted to? What do they value? One of those things being money.
Sure.
If you're a broke, in the words of the top G himself, if you're a brokey, it's going to be very difficult to find a woman who's attracted to you. But if you don't have a strong masculine role model, like I would say,
a strong female role model.
Who do young lads look to as a strong masculine role model?
Well, I think if Andrew Tate disappeared, I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be fine.
I need you to answer my question.
Yeah,
right?
that's my answer.
What strong masculine role model can take his place?
So
who else is out there on social media who is capable of embodying his same message for young lads right now?
What about someone who is influential in developing societal goods?
Give me
and
names. I
positive-
need a name.
Oh,
Do you see? And I know that I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but this is part of the concern is just because Tate might disappear doesn't mean that young boys yearning for a strong father figure that might be missing in their life disappears.
Do you think that it's always been a necessity for young boys to have a male role model on social media?
A strong masculine role model?
Yeah.
Yes.
Always.
I would say that where boys find that masculine role model has changed. One of the places they now find it is social media. So I would say, as an example with myself, I wouldn't say I had a strong masculine role model when I was growing up. And one of the places I found it was through social media platforms like YouTube, not really TikTok, but like Instagram and Facebook, was connecting with people who were able to call out of me my masculine potential. And if those people weren't there, I think I would be worse off. So I guess my concern is the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your perspective.
I think it's really an
I think
individual.
it's very, very individual. And your situation
But I'm saying
great for you.
I would all of the boys who look up to him for that strong masculine presence, they're going to share the same yearning for a strong masculine figure.
My only comment would be, if boys, males are looking for strong figures in their lives, is to look broadly.
Masculine figures. Yeah.
Broadly.
Yeah.
Not just social media, be broad.
Fair enough.
And be real.
Fair enough. Hey, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I
Nice
appreciate
meeting
it.
you.
Freya, lovely
Nice.
to meet you. Andrew Tate, love or hate? You said hate.
Hate,
What makes you hate him?
He's just a sexist, misogynistic guy who just not really respectful of women. He's just a dumb guy, dumb reasons.
Transphobic, homophobic views.
The definition of a bad guy.
Can you give me a specific thing that he said or done that you would label as misogynistic and maybe one that you would label as transphobic?
His whole existence.
This is all
everything
existence.
he preaches about.
He said that this one video where he's just like, yeah, grab the woman, put her down, sex now. It's just like, oh my god, I
I've seen
remember that
too.
one.
Yeah,
God.
I think he was making a joke. I think it's taken out of context, but also, even if it was a joke and it was taken out of context, maybe it's not what you want young people seeing. Yeah. Is there anything else that you think he said or done that you would point to and say this is misogynistic?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't remember what he said because I just block him out of my memories. But I mean, do you know the guy Daz, the YouTuber? Wow.
I should check him out.
You should. He did a video about him and it made a lot of good points. And he literally turned so many men around and be like, yeah, he's a bad guy. And then all the men were like, oh, you're right. But they never listened to women, which really sucked.
But okay.
But I'm just saying that he had good points. I just don't remember what he said. But I just remember him saying that he's the alpha male and he's just like, oh yeah, women are worthless or something.
He definitely didn't say that.
Probably did say that. So that's a good.
Definitely didn't say that. Yeah. So I think there are some things that he said that, taken out of context, are very questionable. Some things even with context are very questionable. But are there any parts of what you see as part of his message that are good, or why do you think so many young lads?
Isn't he a part of sex trafficking anyway?
Yeah, he
he
is.
just
He's a part
dates
of
women to get them into sex trafficking. He doesn't care about
He was
women.
in Romania.
Hold on. What makes you say that he's a sex trafficker?
Because he has charges for it. He was charged for it in
so
Romania. That's why he went
My
there.
understanding is he hasn't been convicted of any sex trafficking charges yet. He does run a webcam business.
Yes.
And now I just want to point out that's very different to sex trafficking. I'm not saying that running a webcam business is a moral thing to do, right? But it's different from sex trafficking. I think I just want to be fair to Tate in that respect. But
so if a woman went around, dated men, only used them to say, yes, I'm going to date you, ship you over to wherever he lives, because he meets them online, ships them over to wherever he is, and says, you're now doing webcamming. I didn't care about you at all. Let's go on to the next woman. Then women would be bad.
Yeah, if it's and I get what you mean. We can ask ourselves, if the roles were flipped and it was a female doing it, would we be okay with it? I think that's a good thought experiment to see whether we have any biases. I think if people are consenting to working in his business,
consenting, yes, it would be fine.
Yeah, and I think we can still say, but I don't think it's the most moral way to make money, and that's my my personal opinion. But if someone's doing it and it's consensual, then I think each to their own. So I guess I just want to put my finger on there's if he hasn't been convicted of sex trafficking and he runs a webcam business, you can talk about the morals of the webcam business, but it's just very different to saying he's a sex trafficker. So is there anything else that you think, or something you can put your finger on as to why, in particular, young men are really attracted to or respect in Andrew Tate?
Because he has money.
Yeah, he's a rich guy, that rich basic guy, bald hair, that's everything.
Like a literal bum.
He does, or a well-shaped testicle.
Oh my god, yeah.
Have you seen the way he walks too?
Oh my god, it's so pretty.
So,
oh my god.
So the money side, I think one of the more productive parts of his messaging that I respect and appreciate and understand why young men also look up to him for it is that it is virtuous, or it's a virtue, it's something young lads should strive for, to become wealthy and to be ambitious, to be disciplined, to work hard, to make something of yourself.
You can do it without putting other people down though.
Yeah.
I agree. And so I guess that's why I'm trying to put my finger on certain parts where, say for example, you said that he was transphobic. What is it about that he said that, like a specific, that we could potentially find common ground on? Because I'm not aware of stuff that he said that is transphobic. So yeah, if anything comes to mind.
I don't know a specific quote, but...
Anything else? Any other reasons why? Like, have you interacted with young lads who love Andrew Tate, and if so, why?
Thank God I did. I had a friend who followed him, and I was like, man, what are you doing? What are you doing?
So the whole cancel culture on the internet as well.
Great segue. So what do you think about him being cancelled off Facebook and Instagram?
He should be.
There should be.
He has a platform that feeds off of hate.
And it's just influencing so many young men, and they would just like, they would grow up into just being horrible and treating women with so much disrespect. It's like we're going back in time.
I don't think he ever says specifically, don't hate women and don't treat women badly. He just says, women should be in their place and women should do this stuff.
I'm also not sure that he's said that. Like, is there something in particular that you can point to, again, that he said with regard to women have to do this and men have to do this? Because I know I'm aware of some of his content that's been taken out of context to paint him saying women should be cleaners and cookers and men should be out working. And he's publicly said, hey, that isn't what I believe. It's been taken out of context. And I guess he's developing an awareness around, you have to be very careful about what you say, otherwise it's going to be taken out of context. Now, where we'll diverge a little bit is, I don't think he should be censored the way he has been on Facebook and Instagram, but that's okay. It's okay for us to have a disagreement. If that is the case, right? Let's say we are playing the censorship game. If you say things that Facebook and Instagram don't agree with, then you're taken off the platform. And it's because of what he's saying about women. Anyone who says similarly dangerous things, I want to put dangerous in inverted commas here, about men, do you think that they should be taken off the platform?
Well, it goes back to women are still counted as a minority. So
why a minority? They're 50% of the population.
Because they still don't have enough rights. They still don't get paid
Like what?
enough.
What's a right that they're not afforded that men aren't?
Well, if you look at America...
The abortion thing in like, I don't even know what state.
Birth control as a whole.
They're just getting rid of contraceptives and everything.
Yeah.
In America.
And as soon as America does stuff, Australia follows.
Yeah.
So is it because, in your eyes, I just want to understand your position, is it because females, in your eyes, don't have equal rights to men?
Yes.
That if women say equally toxic things about men, that it's kosher because
it's not
they're not
good. It shouldn't be preached. It shouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's still
encouraged.
Still, there's nothing for the next, 50, 100 years. Nothing's gonna be. It's not going to be the same.
Interesting. So, okay, if there is a public figure with as much clout as Tate, who's a female, who says the same things about males, you wouldn't see it as fit for Facebook and Insta to deplatform?
Yeah, deplatform them.
Oh, you would be for them deplatforming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're only spreading hate. There's no place anywhere for people who spread hate.
I guess where it becomes difficult is what counts as hate. Yeah, if you come, ladies, do you want to come this way? I just want to make sure you don't cop a skateboard. Yeah. Sorry. What I want to finish with is where it gets difficult is what counts as hate and what doesn't. Right? So it's like the question around hate speech.
Anything that isn't productive and doesn't help anyone is hate.
But like, yeah, I think it's a dangerous route to go down, because what if I say, right, if I express a particular belief and it offends you, what's
if it offends me, it doesn't matter. But if it goes against someone's rights, yes. Because you say, I don't like green, my favorite color is green. That's
just your opinion.
Yeah, but I guess, there's a point at which your rights become someone else's responsibilities. So the ever-expanding realm of your rights eventually is going to start impinging upon my rights. And so we need to have conversations around where do your rights kind of butt heads with mine, and where do we draw the line around what is yours to do with your freedom and what is mine to do with my freedom. I guess just the concern I want to put my finger on is, if we say there is such a thing as hate speech and we are willing to silence people for that hate speech, who decides what is hate speech? And how do we stop it from just being you're in power and you get to decide what I can and can't say?
The person who is getting hated upon, their community and their people should decide whether it's hate or not. And the majority of people should be able to decide whether they agree or not.
Okay, interesting. So I want to just leave. I know that you have to go. I want to just leave with one question, and I see the trans or the pride flag here. I've been accused of being a transphobic, and I definitely wouldn't consider myself a transphobic, but I know there are some people who would claim that I am. And something that we've been trying to do is ask some of the trickier gender-related questions, right? And I know that some people think that a woman is a biological adult female, and some people believe that a woman is whoever identifies as a woman, and apply the same thing to a man. Now, if there's someone who says that a woman is a biological adult female, and someone, let's say for example the trans community, were to say that is against us, or we take offense to that, again, I want to put my finger on who decides whether that is hate speech or not. And my one concern is, I'm not sure that what you said just before would be, at least I'm not sure I would be okay with that being the definition of hate speech. It kind of relies on that group saying, well, we don't agree with you and therefore it's hate speech. Do you see what I mean?
Well, I'm trans and you're not. And if someone, a third party, said something transphobic, it would be my opinion or not. It would be my...
Yeah, because you're trans.
I'm
so
the
you have
one
more
that
of
says
opinion.
if it is or isn't hate speech, because it doesn't affect you. So if it's affecting me, then yes. And then we would put it up to the majority of trans people, see if they agree or not.
Why trans people and why not the general public?
Because it doesn't affect them.
They don't have experience of it, so they wouldn't understand it.
So let's say that, if you don't mind me asking, what are your preferred pronouns?
He, him.
He, him. If I were to say, now this is a hypothetical, yeah? If I were to say I'm not going to use your preferred pronouns because I don't believe that you are a man, I guess my concern is would you consider that hate speech?
That is hate speech.
So...
You don't respect it.
Then do you think that people who express that belief should be censored?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they're like influencing other people about it and being
they're teaching people that it's okay to disrespect trans people and the trans community.
Yeah, and it's just spread more, like just hate it.
But then aren't you also teaching people that if people don't agree with your particular belief set,
it's not a belief.
It's just the facts.
How is it not a belief?
It's just it's trans. It's just what you feel like. And if someone doesn't accept that, it's just like it's some dumb reason. Like I don't know. Like a lot of people related to religion. And it's just like, what does religion have to do with being trans? Like it just
but I guess we also say that we are supportive of people subscribing to their own religions, right? So I guess it gets tricky, is what I'm trying to say. It gets tricky deciding who gets to decide what is hate speech and what is not hate speech. And how do we avoid that degenerating into some kind of tyranny where a certain group of people are saying what you can and cannot say, and they can't express their beliefs.
At the end of the day, there is nothing. There is absolutely no one that can definitively.
There's just no definitive answer.
Because you can't even say, oh yeah, the police or the law systems, because they're unjust anyway.
Yeah.
So there is no one besides the communities that is getting affected.
I was going to say I agree with you until you said that last bit. So where you find common ground, I do think that I don't think anyone should have the power to decide what is hate speech and what is not hate speech, because once we give that power to somebody, it just leads to the potential for them deciding what can and cannot be said, and my concern is that degenerates into a type of authoritarianism. But hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of unpack this, and I think I know that we kind of went off the topic of Andrew Tate, but I'm just really interested in this type of conversation.
Love to meet you guys.
Thanks, man, I appreciate you. Because I think that, like, the way we've conducted ourselves in this conversation, it's not, hey man, thanks. It's rare, right? Especially with like trans-related issues. If people have disagreements, I think it's really important that we hash them out and try and understand, okay, if this is what you believe and this is what you believe, why, and then let's see if we can come to the middle. Really appreciate your time.
Mesdames et messieurs, that is a wrap for today's episode. If you believe in the mission here, you believe we need to try and understand each other instead of demonizing people that we disagree with, then like the video and sub to the channel. We'd also love to hear from you over on our Insta if you have any questions you think we should ask. So shoot us a DM over there with your ideas. Now it is your turn to keep the dialogue flowing in your own life. If you're interested, you can grab yourself a deck of our controversial conversation cards to open up these convos more easily with friends and family in a fun, playful, and non-threatening way. We also really love connecting with you on a more personal level, whether it's in our DMs or via the questions and polls we throw up on our Insta stories. So head on over there if that's of interest to you. We also go live each week at these times to give you a project update, hang out, and unpack some of these questions with you in real time. So come on over and say hola. With all that said, take care of yourselves. I wish you a stunning week before I see you in the next episode. Godspeed. Ciao.